Hi, welcome to This Week in Property. I'm Jayashree Kurup. I'm editor MBTV. I have with me Prabhakar Sinha. He's the real estate editor of the Times of India. And today we're talking about the role of RWAs in the time of pandemic. And the last 2 weeks, we have seen how many states across the country have seen a spike in the number of cases. And there are innumerable deaths that we're hearing of, friends, families, neighbors, people known to us. We have seen it, we've experienced it firsthand. And therefore, we thought that we should actually now try and explore if the first three tiers of government, the center, the state, and the local government, are not able to cope with the volumes that are coming, and it is an extraordinary situation. What can RWAs do? Can RWAs step in and help save lives? And that's why we've got discussing with us Tara Krishnaswamy. She's co-founder of the Citizens for Bengaluru. Thank you, Tara, for joining us. And Rajiv Kakria, he's the convener of Save Our City and member of the GK1 RWA. So first, let's start with Rajiv. Rajiv, in a city that is famed to be heartless, where neighbors don't know each other, how did an RWA like yours get together, start putting oxygen cylinders together so that you could be the first point of saving lives?
See, very frankly, when the lockdown was announced, it was a brutal one. So from day one, RWAs got active. If this is what is needed, because initially it was thought to be a 21-day affair, and we always knew that it may be extended by another 21 days or so. That is definitely was the concern. And we really thought that, we must support the government and we must ensure it. So what we did, we closed all our gates. We shut our society gates, no entry, no exit. Everyone stays, no one goes out, no one comes in, even our domestic healths, etc. To which the government objected initially. Later on, they agreed, no, RWAs were right. And as things moved on, and the government also started getting its act together, and when the beds were initially a problem, wherein we demanded that more and more beds are needed, they were slow on the uptake, but gradually they started increasing the beds. But we started getting news that people are not getting enough beds still. So what we demanded was, let us home quarantine. Nonetheless, home quarantine did start, and suddenly one day, and then the government launched the famous app where you just click of a button and you have thing going for you could go to the nearest hospital with an available bed or with ICU, etc. And one of my Pawan Madhok, he's a secretary of my association, my parent organization in GK1. His wife fell ill at 8:30 in the evening, or I think was 9 or thereabouts. Her oxygen level started dropping, and by 88 they felt, no, we need to take her to the hospital. They checked out, they called in an ambulance, none turned up. By 11, it is 11:30. The situation is grim because the oxygen level has fallen to 85. And they packed her up in the car and they started going hospital hunting. 3 hospitals, 2 o'clock in the night, no beds, her level is 80, they come back home, but they remembered that their neighbor had an oxygen concentrated machine for their mother. She was an asthmatic and they kept it for that purpose. And they used it. And by 10 in the next morning, they had brought her oxygen level to 93. And that's when we felt, listen guys, oxygen is for saving lives. And that's when the same evening, by evening, we had 2 oxygen concentrated machines and 1 portable cylinder installed in the thing, and the rest is history.
How many people have used these facilities?
In the past, ever since, I think it's now 5-6 months now, I think about 18 to 19 residents. Still, both my machines are out right now. Right. So 18, 19, but the good part is 5-6 of the 18 did not even use the machine. When they got the machine close at hand, their oxygen, yes, it was such a psychological boost that they never did use it in the end. So it was a beautiful placebo effect. It was a beautiful thing to do. And like I said, after that, RWAs took over and they started installing isolation beds in their community halls, etc., putting up 5-7 beds so that we could ourselves take care of. And then, of course, all over Delhi, everyone started replicating that process.
And that was a great example which many followed in Delhi. So Tara,
Yeah.
tell us.
Can I come in here? And after that, when it was reported in Hindustan Times, etc., then Honorable LG of Delhi, he contacted us and we made a presentation to him. And then it was applied to all over Delhi also.
Having said that, it's not applicable all over Delhi. I've had first-hand experience. Lost a brother-in-law last week. 7 hospitals, 5 hours. Lost him because finally, when he got to hospital, he was not alive anymore. So I believe that these are things that we need to tackle it at the locality level. So Tara, let's talk about Bangalore. Bangalore, actually, the BBMP enlisted RWAs. They worked with RWAs right from the beginning, whether it was for quarantine, for safety, for sanitizing, and so on. So tell us, what is the role of RWAs in Bangalore? You're on mute.
In Bangalore, we took an approach that goes, includes but goes beyond RWAs. Yeah. So what we realized is that, like the gentleman who spoke before me and like you have mentioned, the people that best know about the locality are the locals, right? That's number one. The second realization, maybe a month or so into it, I think many of us realized that, it's not the 21-day business as was advertised, right? It's just, there is enough, by then enough countries had gone through it and were at the peak, and people were literally like dying every day in so many countries that it is very clear that this 21-day business was what it was. It was not going to be the crux of how Corona was going to be managed, and we needed way more than that, right? So how do we enlist locals? RWA is one set of people who can help, but that doesn't cover everybody in Bangalore, obviously, right? There are people living in freestanding homes, and then there are people living in slums and other areas that are not technically classified as RWAs. And then there is the huge role that even local NGOs play, right? Like, for example, old age homes, so many other NGOs that provided relief materials and things like that. So our thinking was, how do we knit all this together into a cohesive solution? The second thing, like you mentioned and like someone else mentioned, was that by the time you get to the stage where the body is struggling to live, struggling for breath, oftentimes it becomes too late, right? I mean, you may have an oxygen cylinder at hand. Even then it may be too late, because at some point the body needs the hospital. And, in the worst case, even that doesn't work. So the thinking is, how can we catch as many cases as possible as early in the cycle as possible, right? That's our best hope. And then there are always cases. So we minimize the number of cases that need to even go to the hospital. So we, along with BBMP, came up with this program called BL Cares, which is Bengaluru Local COVID Awareness Response and Emergency Sahaya. And the idea was to recruit both ward level and booth level volunteers, right? So these volunteers came from RWAs, came from local NGOs, just interested active citizens and so forth, assigned to wards, with ward level either working with the councillor, or the ward level there were nodal officers appointed, or in some cases they came from the booth level officers were from the agencies, like they might be from any one of the government agencies, right? And the idea is that these booth level and ward level teams, they work with either the RWA, or if it's a freestanding house, then they are the ones that are on a daily basis keeping in touch with the residents.
So they're volunteers?
They're volunteers, right? So now, how do you keep in touch with the residents without actually physically knocking on every door? Because physically knocking on every door has problems. You yourself might get Corona, and everybody doesn't want to put themselves in the line of fire. Yeah. So the idea was to devise a mechanism by which as much as possible can be done through the phone and WhatsApp. So for instance, if you're an RWA committee member, then you are supposed to keep in touch with everybody in your, say, apartment complex, right? So through WhatsApp, every day, the people with comorbidities, you collect that information, and every day you're checking on them. Are you okay? Are you running a fever? Is there an issue, right? So you have a pulse on everyone who's okay, everyone with comorbidities, everyone with other issues that may not be comorbid, like you're pregnant, or you may have had otherwise an accident, a fracture or something like that. Now, if every day you're in touch with people, then you know the minute they fall sick. The second role of the booth and ward level volunteers is to compile the locality data. For example, stock the booth level, ward level offices with oxygen cylinders. What are the ambulances available? What are the local PHCs where testing can be done? So that anything the citizen needs is available within the ward boundary as much as possible, right?
Who's
So
the
it
nodal
minimizes the
person?
travel.
Who's the nodal person who organizes this?
So the whole thing goes through the chain of your ward committee and your ward level counselor, right? So it goes through the existing ecosystem, but below the counselor and the ward committee, each ward has a ward committee of citizens. Below that is the booth level officer and the booth level committees. And these individuals, all volunteers, just active citizens, they may be representing NGOs or RWAs or slums or just you and I, freestanding individuals who work with the individual who knows my street better than I do. I know who are the senior citizens there and so forth. So I collect that data and I pass along some information. What is that information? Where is the PHC? How many oxygen cylinders? Which is the ambulance to call, which is local? What are your local hospitals that have beds available and so forth? So this is a sort of a decentralized management built on top of the ward third tier of governance, extending down to not just the RWAs, but also NGOs and slums and just active citizens who will come forward and keep a tab on things. Catch it early was the idea, right? And keep it local. Catch it early, keep it local.
Right. And that's a great model because if you go to the entire city level, you get overwhelmed.
It scales.
The numbers are overwhelmed.
Yeah. So you need to decentralize to scale.
Right. Prabhakar, Tara made a very important point that we should be working with our councillors, with that local tier of government, and then having a network of volunteers below that. So give me your views, and then we'll go to Rajiv and see how this can be done. Unfortunately, we did invite a councillor from Delhi to join us. He had indeed confirmed, but dropped out at the last minute. There is, I believe there is a session going on, how to deal with Corona. So he wasn't able to attend. So Prabhakar, your views.
Yeah, Jayashree, I mean, I'm really very sorry to say this, that in Delhi particularly, the state has failed completely. I mean, nobody knows that whether in the hospital beds are available or not, where to go if one has a COVID. Now, in the few of the apartments, there are kind of arrangement with Mr. Rajiv Kakria has said has been made, perhaps. But there also, now suppose if somebody needs to have a ventilator, then where to go? Will anybody arrange him for ventilator test hospital? No idea. And now where is that available? Now, even if suppose this state government is saying that we have this app on which you just find out that where the bed is available, and you go to that hospital, they say that no, there is no bed available. That information is not correct. Absolutely. Now the issue is this, that the person or the affected people here is completely, I mean, on their own, on the mercy of the God, and people are dying on road. I mean, it's not it's not a very good thing to say, but this is the real situation in Delhi today. Now, state government is making all sort of claims that they are doing this or that. Even for that matter, like central government has said that we will arrange for 1,400 or 5,000 ICU beds, but so far it has not been made available. Now, and the disease is increasing in Delhi. Yeah. So, and particularly the BMC, as Tara Krishna Swami has suggested, that they came on them. Basically, now the entire initiative might have been taken from the ground, but ultimately it is the BMC people who took that initiative and take it to the final point. But in Delhi, the entire this Delhi Municipal Corporation or the MCD,
we had to struggle with the corporation, but yes. You know, and I wouldn't say everything was hunky-dory, but yes.
They at least came forward. They came forward.
Yeah,
but
there was a cooperation.
But here in Delhi, MCD is completely absent.
So let's talk to Rajiv. Did you try to get in touch with your counselor and the kind of information network that Tara's talking about? Who's the senior citizen? What are the comorbidities? What, other than COVID, what are the other problems? You have other medical problems also. How can you address it? Who are the doctors you can go to? Have you been able to create this network of information?
See, in terms of that network of doctors, you know, our locality doctors and the doctors who have, even for plasma, there are a lot of groups that are floating, and we are helping around. But these are the more organized RWAs. Like Tara said, there are many slums where there's no concept of an RWA. So there I feel it's sad that we can't reach there. But in Seva City, we have all the RWAs and NGOs on board, in terms of all over Delhi and NCR. So we don't have a problem there. But
How many RWAs?
There should be all about, I have about 10 federations that would include practically every RWA then, and then there are many NGOs, etc. And then there are individual RWAs also. We are signatories of about 75 odd people, right. And each one carrying under the belt a huge chunk. Right. So that's not an issue. Our problem is like when we wrote to the government that why don't you, convert, it was we who wrote to the government that why don't you convert hospitals, etc., attach hospitals to various hotels which are lying around, not in the residential area, the guest houses, etc. I was talking about the commercial where proper hotels, state bhavans we suggested, and they were going for banquet halls. I said,
exactly. That is the issue, sir. Now, even if suppose doctor, I have seen doctors struggling for beds. They are not getting beds. In my society, the one person fell sick, and in our society, 3-4 doctors are there. They kept trying for a bed for him, and
right.
Ultimately he has to go to UP to get a bed. He didn't get a bed in Delhi.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. So all these state bhavans, every single state, 29, 30, 32 of them have their state bhavans out here in Delhi lying vacant. Perfect places, you could attach some doctors and you could do it. All that we'd written. Our problem is they don't listen. They don't want to, at least they don't want to be shown as that it's the citizens who are guiding us through. That's their problem, ego problem. I said, okay, we'll do it anonymously, but please do it. If we can think it ahead of you, kindly just take it as an anonymous suggestion and just go ahead and do it. Even for the control of COVID, on 2nd November, from Seva City, being the convener, we wrote a letter to the LG that, listen, right to livelihood is important, but saving lives is even more. The spread of the virus is important. In the upcoming festival season, the markets, etc., at least impose some kind of advisory that you must carry a COVID negative certificate to conduct any trade activity where you are doing it in public space, or you can be a super spreader. Where you are doing public interaction, you must carry that validity. You check it out. It will do two things. A, I will now be way more careful because, like I said, I have one-on-one examples wherein somebody is Maharashtra has said that you come in with a test, RT-PCR test before landing in Mumbai. Now, what is this person doing? He stops moving around. For a week, he stays put. On the 5th day, he gets a test done so that he can fly out the next day. That's how careful people become.
Yeah.
That COVID negative certificate should be must to move around anywhere. Why only out of the town? Why not within the city? So you got to, so that would restrict unnecessary movement. Markets were full and these people were busy collecting GST. 2 days after the Diwali and everything is over, and they are conducting raids and clearing out the street vendors. The super spreaders have done their job. Delhi is again in a situation where it can't be handled. So, and who did you think? We wrote it on 2nd of November.
Right.
We saw it coming, can't they? But they were more busy because we already know this behemoth called the Government of India. We have seen 2 months of lockdown and they did not have enough money to pay the salaries, which means we have a hugely expensive governance network that needs to shed its weight and start working properly for us.
Tara, there's a query that has come from Priyanka who says, active citizen participation is the major key to contain COVID. How did people react initially as there was a lot of taboo attached? This is the first thing. And I want to put an add-on question from my side. The localities or the blocks where there is a good citizen support service, are you seeing that they have less vacancy, they have more people, it becomes in demand because it is perceived as a proactive, good neighborhood?
Bangalore, when the shutdown happened itself, there were a lot of citizens that, if you recall, when the shutdown happened, we didn't have a COVID, there wasn't a feeling of a pandemic, right? We weren't like fearing that we were all going to get it. It was more sort of told to us, but we couldn't see it around us, right? There were only 300 cases in the entire country, right?
Yeah.
So now at that time, actually, a lot of active citizens came forward for other things, for food distribution, for helping, laborers and so forth. And at that time, people, the active citizens had a problem of mobility because you're not supposed to move about. So that was the time that those problems got solved, and Bangalore has always had active citizenship. Many cities have it. The point is, can you use that and channel that energy in a more sort of synchronized, cohesive manner?
Exactly.
So everybody is working towards the same goal.
Yes.
That is the leadership that is necessary, right? And that wasn't necessarily coming proactively from the government, but a lot of us realized this, and some of this happened in Bangalore too. People went from hospital to hospital. Some people died right in the hospital waiting for a bed. This is the kind of frustration that caused us to accelerate some of these things. So the citizenry were always there, right? In some booths and some wards more, and some booths and some wards less. But it's never that they're not there, because at the minimum you have your RWAs and your, and local NGOs and so forth. So was there hesitation? Yes, absolutely. Especially if you say, well, there were a lot of enthusiastic people on the one hand. On the other hand, especially if you say you need to go door to door. So that was also a big struggle with the government to tell them, look, the minute you message that people need to go door to door, there is going to be a resistance for people coming forward. There is a lot of this work. We put together an entire flow chart. There's a lot of this work that can be done without leaving the doorstep. If you localize it enough, you know your locality. I know who lives in my apartment complex and who's a senior citizen and who's pregnant. I also know how to get that information because I know who my committee is. I don't need to go knock on every door to get that information, right? So convincing them that a lot of this can be done over the phone and WhatsApp, even the checking up on people can be done. And then there is delivery of foods and groceries and stuff to people who can't move about. That needs to be done, right? So yes, in response to the query, there was hesitation. Citizens were messaging it all right, but the Zoom and everything is new to everyone else in the world. To a lot of the citizens, especially the IT, it is our way of life, right? So we needed to convince the government, you guys are living, with the Luddites and, pretending like everything needs to be face to face. And those were the days when people would pull down masks, and even now people do it, but it was even more so. They were completely clueless. So those were the challenges that we needed. It was by no means a smooth ride. In retrospect, it feels like that, but it wasn't a smooth ride. But I think we understood that you need to catch it early and you need to involve the locals, otherwise there is no hope.
And talk about communities, the building of communities. Not all communities are very close-knit or well-organized. So how were you able to influence others?
One of the things that Citizens for Bengaluru, the citizen group that I co-founded does, it's a citizens collective, it's not an NGO, and it's pan Bangalore. So we are not an RWA or an NGO, is that we got in 2018, the mayor and the commissioner of Bangalore to pass an order, actually as per the 74th Amendment, across the country, every corporation that has councillors, every ward should have what is called a ward committee, right? This is defined in the 74th Amendment. A ward committee is supposed to be composed of active citizens who come forward to volunteer in the ward. It is supposed to have, according to the Karnataka made an amendment to that to say, these 10 people per ward, there will be 2 that come from RWAs, 2 that come from slums. There will be a couple of women. There will be a couple of SC/STs. So it is a very well-rounded set of 10 people in the ward. Now in the ward, instead of 1 councillor, you have 10 plus 1 people that you can approach with your issues. And under normal non-disaster circumstances, you would approach them about potholes and street lights and stuff like that, right? You don't have to go every time and knock on your councillor's door. You can go through these people, and you're supposed to, what Citizens for Bangalore did was to get the government to pass an order that says, not only must ward committees be composed, they must meet every week on Saturday at 11 a.m. Okay. By putting down that Saturday at 11 a.m., we got ward committee meetings going. So suddenly there were thousands of ward committee meetings happening every year. So this, coming into 2020, we had already made this happen, which means that even if nobody comes forward, you have 10 people in the ward committee who is responsible for outreach. And remember, that's already represented with RWAs and others, right? But people did come forward. So that is how we seeded it. And that itself becomes a nodal place through which you can start to roll up the data. But in addition, because of the Disaster Management Act, you had functionaries that were appointed by the government. We got it down from ward to booth level to get booth level volunteers. There were booth level nodal officers appointed by the government to coordinate some of this data management. We had a BLKS portal that was built. And in fact, it was my name, CARES. I was very particular about that because this whole corona management throughout the country became a policing effort, right? Where it morphed from a health management to, let's punish people who are doing X, let's blame people who are doing Y, right? How do you manage a health crisis? Everybody is a victim here. Nobody wants to get it, right? How do you manage a health crisis without care? So the thinking was to say, these volunteers who come forward, their job is not to police, their job is to care, right? The same activity that you do, helping people ensure that they wear masks and so forth, you can do it from a care perspective by distributing the mask, right? Or by creating awareness, by creating little pamphlets and posters, you send on WhatsApp, you call them, you find out, right? Kind of a thing, as opposed to from a policing perspective. So that was kind of also the mindset change that we needed to go through. But the existing ward committee structure that we had fought for turned out to be very, very, actually, this is why it exists, because local problems can be managed locally.
Right. And it was supposed to be the local area management. I mean, 74th Amendment was all about local area management, where every stakeholder, whether he's a slum dweller, whether he's a disabled, everybody should be able to participate in that. Exactly. And that's important. That's really important if you want to manage a crisis of this scale, right?
Correct.
Prabhakar, let's talk about the 74th Amendment and Delhi. Is there something that can we trigger the same ward committees that Tara's talking about, which has been so efficient? Can we trigger it across the Delhi NCR? Because clearly it's one of the hotspots, right?
Yeah, exactly. In fact, if you remember, when Arvind Kejriwal was fighting election, he had said this, that ward committee will be made more powerful or they will be made more responsible. And we thought at that time that at least now the democracy, real democracy, will come from the ground level and things will improve. But I mean, initially they tried to do it and all that, but because of politicization and all that, that has already gone. I mean, now in our locality, or for any other locality, I mean, Mr. Rajiv Kakaria can tell us more about that. There's hardly any such committee who is really looking after the needs of the people of that area. Yeah. Now, in our city, in my area also, many people have approached, they say that hospital doesn't come under us. We can't help you much in this. We can tell you that, okay, how to get a ambulance and all that, but hospital, we can't manage. Now, the situation, because it is also mainly because government has not empowered them. If suppose the locality hospitals should also become under them, or not only come under them, if they should have been taken confidence for the monitoring of those hospitals, then certainly those hospitals should have also been more active. But more than that, Jayashree, here in Delhi, we require more beds, more ventilators, more oxygen cylinders, and government must do something to create those facilities, those infrastructure.
Right. Let me actually tell you that our councillor from the Rajendra Nagar N8, I think, he has joined us. He will be talking to us shortly, so it's good to have him here. But Rajiv, I'm going to take this to you. You have organized people at various RWA levels, organizations, federations, and so on. What does it take to now take it down to the ward level, to the locality level, so that localities can actually document how many, exactly what Prabhakar said, how many beds do you have, how many ventilators do you have, how can you prevent, and if you still go into a crisis, how can you address that?
See, prevention, like I said, you definitely need a credit response to how the movement is happening all across Delhi. Yeah. That needs to stop. Like I said, the COVID negative certificate or something of that nature. Yeah. But I want to just add one thing. The MLA and our councillor, at least in GK, I can vouch, they're both working well. MLA has done an excellent job. He's organizing these camps to get those negative reports, the testing, etc. done. It's been done daily. We are very happy about it. Even he is helpless so far as the hospital bed is concerned. And that's where I said that you need to convert hotels and state bhavans into this thing, because they're anyways lying vacant, and no tourism or business activities really happening. So you could attach some, which was done when there was 500 patients.
Yeah.
Today, when there are thousands a day, 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 a day, they've taken that off. You know, the AeroCity was converted into some kind of a containment zone or COVID facility, etc. You must provide for each and every pocket and their comfort. I'm not just happy. I'm just not happy going to a government hospital because we've seen how they are operating. But I would be more comfortable at a hotel, you know. There could be a 5,000 bed, there could be a 2,000 rupees a bed, and then standardization of medication. It's just care. It's not medication really that is happening. Only in the comorbid cases, there is some extensive thing is needed. But even today, Apollo, etc., they're charging 18,000 rupees per day per room. You got some gold-plated things happening out there. So you need to, this is a pandemic. This is not the time for you to make money. And this is what, and we are really angry about the government that they're just not listening. You must control the costs. You must give free tests. By the way, RT-PCR tests, these little, tickles in the nose.
No, sir, one thing, sir, why not the government hospital functioning should improve?
Prabhakar,
Why
let's
not that improve?
welcome Mr. Paramjit Singh Rana. Paramjit ji, namaskar. Thank you for joining us. आप अभी हाउस से निकल के आए हैं शायद, right? परमजीत जी, आपको मेरी आवाज आ रही है? Deepak, I want him to listen to us. I think there's some problem with the audio.
Yes, I'll just check with him for the audio.
Yes, please. We'd like to draw him into the discussion, but Tara,
Sure.
in the meantime, I would like you to address a query that has come. Is there an SOP for how RWA should function in this COVID times?
No, but we did put together a flow chart, not for the RWA, for this whole process, and also lists of what individual local volunteers need to be collecting as locality information, and also what the government needs to be providing to the volunteers. Because as you go to collect this information and check on people, either physically or through the phone, they're going to ask you, how do I do X? How do I do Y? How do I get a test done? You know, where do I go to? How long will the results take? So you should also have information at your fingertips. What's the closest hospital with beds and so on? So we have both a flow chart and, you know, a set of things that volunteers need to do and a set of things that government needs to provide.
Fantastic. So that's the way I believe it's going to be.
That's the important thing. Paramjit ji, आपको मेरी आवाज आ रही है?
And I'm happy to present it if any of you want to arrange
to see that.
Yeah, for a thing with the with your local corporation or your MLA or whoever. I'm happy to go through the presentation.
We will just give me a minute. I'm trying to draw in the counselor. Paramjit ji, आपको मेरी आवाज आ रही है? Deepak, I still need to get him to listen to us. I think that's the problem with him.
I'm checking with him. Yeah.
Okay. Tara, can we see that SOP, please? Would you be able to show it to us?
Yeah, give me 1 second.
Yes, sure. There's another query. In the meantime, I'll continue with the conversation. Actually, Rajiv, there's a query saying, can an RWA restrict the entry of new buyers or tenants in a housing society or a sector?
Not
You
really.
need to give me screen sharing to do this.
Deepak, can we give her screen sharing, please? Deepak?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
Yeah,
You have the right.
got it. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
Yeah,
Take
it's
us through it, please.
sorry.
Take us through it.
Yeah. It's a little busy. I'm
Yeah.
sorry about that. So, but I will tell you. Yeah. So this is the BLK's workflow and resources.
Yeah.
On the left side, you see the kind of activities that need to be done. The bar at the leftmost corner.
Yeah.
If you look at from the perspective of whoever does it, whether it's the government or volunteers or an RWA, these are the 5 or 6 sets of activities that need to be done. There is some degree of awareness creation, some degree of information passing, some degree of sharing of resources, helplines, outreach, and reporting. That is rolling up of data, because we're looking at it also from a managing a citywide issue perspective, right? So now let's come to the next 2 bars. The upper one is called prevention and the lower one is cure and avoid spread. So now within these set of activities, you can group them into 2. There is a set of activities you do to prevent spread, and then there is a set of activities you do once you know someone is infected, so you can cure them and further avoid spread, right? And this workflow is put together from the perspective of a ward and a booth level volunteer, what the individual volunteer will need to do. Now, if you look at prevention, there are 3 kinds of people. They may be not symptomatic, not at risk, not vulnerable, right? I'm an example of that. I don't have comorbidities. I'm not a senior citizen. I'm not symptomatic. I'm not at risk, right? I'm just giving an example. Now, and then, so you classify people, not symptomatic, not at risk, but otherwise vulnerable. Like, for example, they may be pregnant or have a fracture or some other health issues, right? Or they may be in slums, so they're very close together, or they are elderly people, right? They're sleeping too close together, or the older people that need help. Or they could be comorbid, right? Like diabetes or TB or asthma. Then not symptomatic, but at risk because your contacts are positive. Either you traveled or you came in touch with someone who is. So now the activity of the volunteer differs based on each of these cases. Why we group them into these dabbas is because the activity of the volunteer differs in each of these cases, right? The purple balls that you see everywhere that says ongoing, the monitoring is ongoing. So when you're in the stage of preventing, you need to keep your eye on the ball. Otherwise, they're going to turn positive. And the minute they turn positive, you should know. If you know, you can stop it, right? You don't have to go overboard about saying, I'm going to like quarantine the whole world. What you need to know is to keep tabs on. If someone's falling sick, I'm going to catch it early and act on it. So what do you need to do for people who are not symptomatic, not at risk, not vulnerable? Just check on them every day and say, all well, fine, bye-bye. That's all. One WhatsApp message is enough. For the second box, not symptomatic, not at risk, but vulnerable, they may need, now if you go to the right side and you look at those green rectangles, you see they may need access to local health care, like a pregnant woman would require regular checkups. Somebody with a fracture might need their splinter replaced, right? Or if you're slums or elderly, you need to arrange for beds at night. They may live there in the daytime, but they may need beds in a local school or somewhere where they can sleep apart, right? Space for distancing. If you're comorbid, they need to be checking if they are symptomatic more regularly than anyone else, right? And so this is what the volunteer needs to stay on top of, right? And then if you're actually contact positive, you may need emergency transport, you may need diet related issues, ration, medicines, telemedicine. This is where if your contacts are positive, you must be in touch with the doctor. So the volunteer needs to check and arrange for the most local quarantine possible, which may be home quarantine, which may be a center, right? Moving further to the right, then there are cases like if they are pregnant or, my leg is fractured, the volunteer must be willing to deliver ration and medicines and stuff like that. It may be it may be physically delivering, it may be arranging for a dunzo if they pay for it or whatever, Swiggy or whatever. But on a daily basis, they need to stay on top of it. And I put a phone thing there to say all this can be done on the phone, except the actual physical delivery. Even arranging for emergency transport can be done on the phone. Now, how do you arrange for emergency transport? Before I go there, I'll just show
1 minute, Tara. परमजीत जी, आपको मेरी आवाज आ रही है?
हाँ जी, अभी आ गई आपकी आवाज मेरे।
हाँ जी, नमस्कार, थैंक यू फॉर जॉइनिंग अस। अभी तारा कृष्णस्वामी बैंगलोर से हैं, ये वहां क्या बता रहे हैं कि क्या उनका सिस्टम है, फिर हम आपसे बात करेंगे। तारा, प्लीज कंटिन्यू।
So now, how does the volunteer know what are the local healthcare resources or how to arrange for an emergency transport? This is where you have the lists, right? So they are supposed to, the government is the list of local nurses and doctors they are supposed to collect. You will know from the PHC, you will know from the RWAs. If my apartment complex has a doctor, I know who those doctors are. If everybody starts rolling up the list to the booth level and the ward level volunteers, you have your compiled list, you have your nurses list. You know how many oximeters are available in the ward and the booth. You know how many oxygen cylinders are available and so forth, right? So you know what is your local, how many ambulances are available locally. And that is your best shot to save people. Now, if we come to the bottom side of this, right, you get people who are already sick. So what do you need to do for them? This is where the rubber meets the road, so to say. So you have issues like they are symptomatic but untested, which means that you need to arrange, you need to know what your local PHC is, where testing is happening, right? Or if the testing is not available there, which is the closest lab where you can arrange for testing. or if they're already tested but they're asymptomatic, then quarantine and coordination for sanitization with the BBMP, right? Then if they are actually positive, or they are cured or a travel returned or home quarantine, again institutional quarantine. All of this again can be done on the phone, but twice daily you're checking, not once daily like the upper box. You're checking twice daily just to make sure that nothing gets out of hand. And here again, stuff like emergency transport, diet, patient medicine, telemedicine comes into the picture, which is where having a list of doctors and nurses and access really helps. And at the bottom most is the positive or emergency case, where you need to make sure you have all the government helplines, the ambulances available locally, urgent, the pulse oximeter, oxygen cylinder in every booth. We recommended that 10 such be bought and stocked so that it's available locally, right? For anybody. In addition, an RWA may stock it, which is a different matter.
Yeah.
And who are the other local volunteers, right? So at the bottom, you see what is the most important thing the government needs to provide it is the bottom red, which is give me your escalation matrix. Nobody should die, right? So if I see that somebody is going from top to bottom, they're degrading, right? They were asymptomatic, they turn symptomatic, they turn positive, etc. Then you're going from top to bottom, you're degrading. Then I should be able to escalate. Otherwise, as a volunteer, my credibility is at stake. Why would somebody share this their health and sort of confidential information and say, yeah, I am sick, yeah, I am comorbid, if they're going to get nothing out of it? And our website is where
I want you to stop here.
Exactly.
I want you to stop here. I'll come back to you. Hold this on the screen, please. परमजीत जी, हमने आपको इसीलिए बुलाया कि आप आपके फेसबुक पेज में हमने देखा आप एक हेल्पलाइन रन करते हैं अपने वार्ड के लिए, अपने सिटीजन्स के लिए. तो हमें बताइए कि आपने कैसे शुरू किया ये.
सबसे पहले तो आप सबका थैंक्स करता हूं कि आपने मुझे इस मीटिंग में ज्वाइन करने का अवसर दिया.
Tara, hold that on the screen, please. I want to talk to him about that.
Okay, sure.
सेकेंडली, हमने जो हेल्पलाइन जारी किया है, मेरे एरिया में 2 एक बड़े हॉस्पिटल आते हैं. एक का नाम है गंगाराम और एक का नाम है BL कपूर हॉस्पिटल. हो क्या रहा है कि ऑल ओवर दिल्ली से लोग वहाँ प्रॉब्लम, और दिल्ली से बाहर के भी लोग प्रॉब्लम में आ रहे हैं. उनको बेड्स की अवेलेबिलिटी नहीं मिल रही, उनको सही डॉक्टर को अप्रोच करने की जगह नहीं मिल रही, और कहीं पे भी आप वो जाते हैं तो उनको इस वक्त जिस वक्त वो पैंडेमिक में प्रॉब्लम में है, उनको कोई गाइडेंस नहीं मिल रही. तो उसके लिए हमने एक हेल्पलाइन जारी किया था कि अगर आपको गंगाराम में या BL कपूर में भी आपको प्रॉब्लम आ रही है तो हम कम से कम उनको एक सही गाइडेंस दे सकें. हमारा वहाँ एक 24 घंटे के लिए हमने वहाँ एक अपना आदमी डिप्यूट किया हुआ है जो कंसीडर जो डॉक्टर्स हैं, क्योंकि वहाँ पर 2 तरीके की इमरजेंसी है. एक नॉर्मल इमरजेंसी है और एक कोरोना की इमरजेंसी है. तो कोरोना वाला जो पेशेंट है वो भी नॉर्मल में ही वो बेचारा परेशान हो रहा है, उसको नहीं मिल रही वो जगह जहाँ उसको जाना चाहिए. तो ऐसी बेसिक इंफॉर्मेशन जो भी है वो हम देते हैं. दूसरा,
ये अवेयरनेस आप कैसे बताते हैं, आप लोगों को कैसे बताते हैं कि आपका ये सर्विस अवेलेबल है?
वो हमारा एक सोशल मीडिया पे जो हमारे ग्रुप्स बने हुए हैं उसमें हमारा वो जो हेल्पलाइन नंबर चलता है वो सबके पास पहुंच चुका है ऑलमोस्ट. उसके अलावा किसी के घर में, जैसे हमारे एरिया में खास करके कोई नीडी है जो खाना नहीं ले सकता, जो पुअर फैमिली से बिलोंग कर रहे हैं और जो रोज के दिहाड़ी वाले मजदूर हैं, उनको खाना, कई जगह पे ऐसा सिचुएशन है कि खाना भी नहीं बन सकता. तो वहां से हम अपने गुरुद्वारे से हमने टाई अप किया हुआ है, तो गुरुद्वारा साहब से उनको लंगर सुबह शाम का हम प्रोवाइड करवा रहे हैं. अब थोड़ा स्टेबिलिटी आ गई है, पर जब पैंडेमिक चल रहा था तो हमने सैनिटाइजर, ग्लव्स, मास्क और मेडिसिन, जो बेसिक मेडिसिन हैं, उसका एक लंगर चलाया था. और अभी भी कुछ तकरीबन 50 के आसपास ऐसे परिवार हैं जिनके बच्चे उनके साथ नहीं रहते और वो बूढ़ा बूढ़ी ओल्ड एज में है, और उनको हम अभी भी जो है लंगर प्रोवाइड कर रहे हैं सुबह शाम का बना हुआ.
परमजीत जी, आपके वार्ड में जो ऐसे सिटीजन्स हैं जो अकेले रहते हैं और उनके साथ कोई नहीं है, इनका आपके पास कोई लिस्ट है? आप उनको रीच आउट करते हैं, आप उनको बताते हैं?
हाँ जी, हाँ जी, हमारे पास एक डाटा है जिसमें हम मतलब पैंडेमिक में तो बहुत ज्यादा राशन जा रहा था. अब 180 फैमिलीज हैं जो इस वक्त प्रॉपर, जिनको मतलब 5,000 10,000 रुपए की इनकम भी महीने की नहीं हो रही, तो उनको हम 10 किलो आटे की थैली, 2 किलो दाल, 1 किलो चीनी, ऐसे एक राशन का बैग बना के दे रहे हैं. अभी हमने लास्ट वीक 200 लेडीज को आइडेंटिफाई करके उनके घर तक राशन पहुंचाया था, और ये पिछले हम 11-12 महीनों से लगातार हमारा चल रहा है प्रोग्राम.
कौन पे करता है इसके लिए?
सिटीजन वॉलंटियर्स हैं परमजीत जी?
हमारे साथ इस वक्त 15 से 20 वॉलंटियर्स हैं
हाँ जी।
और हमारे साथ 2 एनजीओ काम कर रही हैं। एक बेबे नानकी के नाम से एनजीओ है, उसको रिप्रेजेंट कर रही है अमृता कौर, और वो ओल्ड एज होम भी चला रही है हमारे साथ, जहाँ हम दिल्ली से गुरुद्वारा कमेटी की मदद से तकरीबन 18 से 20 बुजुर्ग ऐसे हैं और वो सिंगल पेरेंट है और वो कहीं भी जा नहीं सकते। उनको वहीं पे हमने रखा हुआ, गुरुद्वारे की बैक साइड पे एक बिल्डिंग में हमने उनको रखा हुआ है
आपके वार्ड
और
में
वहीं पर
कितने
उनको फूड प्रोवाइड कर रहे हैं।
आपके
तो
वार्ड में कितने RWS हैं परमजीत जी? परमजीत जी
रजिस्टर्ड है, डब्ल्यू है, वो 35 के आसपास है।
35, तो वो 35 RWS आपके साथ जुड़े हुए हैं?
वो सारे जुड़े हुए हैं हमारे साथ। एक मेजर जो है ऊर्जा के नाम से, वो भी हमारे साथ जुड़े हुए हैं और सारे RWO के जो प्रेसिडेंट हैं इनके साथ हमारी टाइम टू टाइम मीटिंग होती रहती है। तो जैसे किसी का घर में आइसोलेट होना, अब सबसे बड़ी प्रॉब्लम जो आजकल आ रही है, जो दिल्ली गवर्नमेंट SDM साहब की तरफ से होम हम आइसोलेट कर रहे हैं, तो वहां पर उन्होंने गार्ड बिठा दिया है।
गार्बेज कलेक्शन,
तो 14 दिन उसका आइसोलेट का टाइम होता है, तो गार्ड को हटाने का टाइम लेट हो रहे हैं ना लोग जिनको क्वारंटाइन कर रहे हैं। जो आइडेंटिफाई मकान हो जाता है, जो हाउस आइडेंटिफाई हो जाता है, वहां पर हम SDM को इन्फॉर्म करते हैं। SDM वहां पर अपना एक जो आजकल उन्होंने वॉलंटरी रखे हैं, वो आके वहां पर बैठ जाते हैं, वो मकान सील कर देते हैं। प्रॉब्लम जो मेजर आ रही है, जो आपके चैनल के थ्रू में जिसका रिपोर्ट आती है, रिपोर्ट के 2 दिन बाद उसको खोलना होता है, तो 30 दिन 30 डेज दिस पीपल आर नॉट कमिंग टू ओपन दैट हाउस। तो वो एक तो घर भी पूरा वो हो जाता है लोगों के आइडेंटिफाई। अब जब उसको प्रॉब्लम खत्म हो गई तो उसके बाद भी वो टाइमली जाके उसको आइडेंटिफाई नहीं करते और टाइमली जाके वहां से उसको, जो आपका वॉलंटियर बाहर बैठा हुआ है, जो इन्होंने सिविल डिफेंस में लिए हैं बच्चे, वो वहां से तब तक हटेंगे जब तक ऑर्डर नहीं आएगा। तो उस फैमिली को 1 हफ्ता और सफर करना पड़ता है क्वारंटाइन के अंदर। जब तक उनकी रिपोर्ट भी नॉर्मल आ गई, सब कुछ नॉर्मल आ गया, उसके बाद भी वो 1 हफ्ता और सोसाइटी से कट के वहां रहते हैं। तो ये बड़ा मेजर पॉइंट है कि इमीडिएटली जब SDM के पास रिपोर्ट आ गई है, तो उसको इमीडिएटली उसको ऑर्डर करना चाहिए कि ये जो क्वारंटाइन फैमिली है, इसको अब इनकी नेगेटिव रिपोर्ट आ गई है, तो दे शुड गो इन द सोसाइटी ऑल्सो। तो लोग भी डर जाते हैं कि यार अभी तक क्वारंटाइन खत्म नहीं हो रहा, तो क्या प्रॉब्लम है। तो ऐसा जो इशू है, ये बहुत लेटेस्ट मतलब प्रॉब्लम जो आ रही है, जो भी किसी को नहीं समझ में आ रही, क्योंकि मैं फेस कर रहा हूँ, क्योंकि मेरे पास रोज फोन आ रहा है कि सर हमारे को 7 दिन हो गए हैं क्वारंटाइन की, हमारी नेगेटिव रिपोर्ट आ गई है, अभी तक सिविल डिफेंस के लोग हमारे घर से हट नहीं रहे, हमारी जो सील लगाई है SDM ने वो खोल नहीं रहा। तो फिर हमारे को फिर फोन करना पड़ता है SDM साहब को, तो क्या कारण है, इसको क्यों नहीं। तो वहां से आता है जी हम काम बहुत है जी, बिजी बहुत है जी। आप 100 बिजी हो जाए, 100 काम हो जाए, पर एक फैमिली 1 हफ्ता और सफर कर रही है, उसका मतलब एक समझो कि ना वो उसको शॉप पे जा पाएगा, ना कहीं काम कर पाएगा, ना कहीं फीडिंग कर पाएगा, और 1 हफ्ता और सफर करेगा। तो ये भी एक बड़ी बड़ी प्रॉब्लम आ रही है। कहीं पे इसके बेनिफिट्स हैं, कहीं इसके नेगेटिव्स भी आ रहे हैं।
राइट,
तो इसके ऊपर जरूर आप
जरूर
लें कि भी कैसे
एक्चुअली
अथॉरिटीज।
परमजीत जी, हम आपको बताना चाहते हैं कि एक्चुअली आप कह रहे हैं कि सारे RWS जुड़े हुए हैं, सारे प्रेसिडेंट्स जुड़े हुए हैं, मगर कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी से हमें यही खबर मिलती रहती है कि जब कोई क्राइसिस आता है उन्हें पता नहीं है कहाँ जाना चाहिए, इनफ अवेयरनेस नहीं है, थोड़ा और आपको अवेयरनेस बढ़ाना है। पीपल नीड टू नो दैट यू आर रनिंग दिस सर्विस।
नहीं जयश्री, एक चीज मैं इनसे पूछना चाहता हूँ कि जो ये कर रहे हैं, जो मान लीजिए जो भी ये कर रहे हैं, क्या ये MCD को क्यों नहीं रोप इन करते हैं उसके अंदर, और सारे वार्ड में ये क्यों नहीं लगाते हैं? मतलब अगर मान लीजिए चूंकि MCD बीजेपी वालों की है, तो ये सारे वार्ड में इसको क्यों नहीं रेप्लिकेट करते हैं, ये इन्हीं के वार्ड में क्यों होता है? और मैंने देखा है कि हमारे ही सोसाइटी में, चाहे हमारे और भी सोसाइटी में मैं जानता हूँ, जिसको कोविड हो गया है वो भी बाहर निकल के घूम रहा होता है, बोलता मैं वॉक करूंगा। अब अगर पुलिस को बोलो, पुलिस बोलता है साहब ये हमारे जुरिस्डिक्शन में नहीं आता कि मैं नहीं कुछ कर सकता। अब वो मास्क लगा के घूम रहा है तो घूमेगा वो। अब सवाल है कि क्या कोई गाइडलाइंस है इसका, ये क्यों नहीं MCD के थ्रू, या ये बताएं किसी को कि कहाँ पे, जैसे मैं सोसाइटी में रहता हूँ, इवन सोसाइटी को नहीं पता है कि वो किसको कांटेक्ट करना चाहिए ऐसे सूरत में, और कहाँ से उसको हेल्प मिलेगा। तो ये क्यों नहीं रेप्लिकेट होता है दूसरे वार्डों में सर?
मेरे ख्याल से सारे वार्डों के काउंसलर्स के नंबर उनके वार्ड के लास्ट के नंबर से कनेक्टेड है। जो भी हमारा नंबर हमें एमसीडी से इशू होता है, जैसे मेरा 102 वार्ड है, तो लास्ट में मेरा 102 है। अगर आप किसी भी काउंसलर को अगर कांटेक्ट करना चाहते हैं तो वो वार्ड का लास्ट नंबर लेंगे, आप उसकी हेल्पलाइन पे उसको फोन मार सकते हैं।
अरे वो बात करेगा तब ना, बात ही नहीं करता, कमाल की बात करते हैं। नंबर तो है ही लोगों के पास, सर बात तो करे।
आप उस वार्ड की सेवा, मुझे तो अगर वो नहीं करता तो मैं आपकी हेल्प करूंगा उसमें जो हो सकता होगा।
नहीं, अब
कई
तो
बार
आप
मे भी कनेक्शन प्रॉब्लम हो, और ये तो इस वक्त ह्यूमैनिटी की सेवा है, और ह्यूमैनिटी की सेवा के लिए हर एक को करना चाहिए। क्यों नहीं करता ये मैं नहीं जानता, पर मेरे ख्याल से मेरे को कोई दूसरे वार्ड में भी अगर कोई काम आ जाता तो आई विल ऑनर फील, मैं उसको करता हूँ।
Okay,
इसमें
that
हमारे को तो
that,
सेवा करनी
that
चाहिए।
Paramjit ji, that's a very powerful statement to make,
Yeah.
and we would like more counselors like you to come forward. Tara, I'd like to ask you one more question. Are RWA is helping residents with information related to where to go for tests, nearby hospitals, whom to reach for in case of emergency, and also what kind of online helplines are available?
This is the program of BLKS, to say that volunteers have to collect information about locals and locals problems so we can get to it quickly, but also hold information about available resources that are passed along daily through these. That's the purpose of the WhatsApp channels, and so it's a dissemination of information. The reason this works, and going back to the question you asked, Paramjit ji, is because what we did was, there was a nodal officer like at an IAS level who was appointed to be in charge of all of Bangalore COVID management. So this is at an administrative level, not at the political level, right? So it is through him that we got the program started. To say this is a decentralized administration that needs to take place. So he needs to make sure that the commissioner of the corporation is roped in, and then at every ward level this notification goes that councillor and the ward committee need to start working on this. We made public announcements, multiple public training for, come on, booth level volunteers, come forward, this is what you need to do, this is what you're expected to do. We built a portal, BLKS portal, where volunteers can sign up and they receive this information, right? They put in the information about the local stuff they collected. The first thing they did, the first week, your job is to do a local survey and say, where are my PHCs? Where are my labs? Are there certified labs in my ward? Are there in my booth area? Who are the local doctors? Collect the information that you can only get locally. You will also be given information that government of Karnataka has in terms of designated quarantine centers, how many beds are available from hospitals, who are the already COVID positive folks, because the government maintains this information, who you need to track. So we coordinated this through administrative at a Bangalore-wide level and didn't go bottom up. Initially, we coordinated a Bangalore-wide level to get all of the other administrators and the councillors on board. We didn't go councillor by councillor. If we had done that, it wouldn't have happened.
Okay, Rajiv, the same question that I asked Tara, in terms of where are all these services that you need when you are in an emergency, and have they been collected? How are you disseminating? And is there a central helpline?
See, let me tell you, 50% of Delhi where there are organized RWAs, the whole system is pretty well oiled. It's working very well along with the councillor and the MLA. We really know exactly for which service or for which complaint we need to approach the councillor, and for which the MLA. The MLA is taking very good care in terms of where the tests have to be done, where the DM needs to be get a house unlocked, in terms of what Mr. Rana was saying, in terms of after they've been treated, they're still for 2 weeks they're still locked. So the MLA is doing that fine. Once a case is reported to us, we take it off the resident. They don't even bother. Garbage removal, MCD is doing a wonderful job, at least in our area, that I can say. We ask them to give the patient name, telephone number, house number, and details, and we just forward it to the given number. And of course, the load is such that garbage can't be cleaned every single day, but second or third day it is always done. Plus sanitization, malaria department and the MCD is doing a good job there. All those things are perfectly fine. That's a well-oiled machine working perfectly fine. My problem is beds, and ventilator beds with oxygen.
Paramjit ji, इसके लिए हम आपका हेल्प चाहेंगे. Every person from Delhi is telling us बेड्स नहीं है, वेंटिलेटर्स नहीं है.
And beds to suit each pocket. That's important.
लोग
not jaw max कर दें. And by the way, एम्स में पूरी फ्लोर आईएस ने अपने संभाल के लिए रखी हुई है. जनता जाए इसे. That's the sad part.
I just want to inform you that 2 days back, Gangaram had decided to put more beds in the hospital because government also said कि 80% अब आप करें अपने hospital में for the COVID. तो गंगाराम तो बेड बढ़ा रहा है, बट अभी बीएल कपूर से मेरे को इन्फॉर्मेशन नहीं है. बेड की प्रॉब्लम जरूर आ रही है और मेरे को लग रहा है कि लोग अभी सीरियस नहीं है. पर मेरे को every day around 20 to 30 telephones I receive from the public जिनके पास बेड की प्रॉब्लम्स आ रही हैं. तो जितना हो सकता है हम कर रहे हैं, पर जो गवर्नमेंट ने इश्यूज किए हैं, जैसे कि मैम बोल रहे थे कि भाई व्हाट इज द इंफॉर्मेशन अबाउट गवर्नमेंट बेड्स, वो बेड अभी तक हमारे को भी समझ नहीं आ रहा है वो कहाँ लगे हुए हैं, कहाँ पे हमने पेशेंट को रेफर करना. अगर गंगाराम में और बीएल कपूर में नहीं बेड मिल रहा तो हमें को ये नहीं पता कि मैं उसको कहाँ गाइड करूँ कि गवर्नमेंट का कौन सा ऐसा सेंटर है कि आप वहां चले जाओ, आपको फर्स्ट एड मिल जाएगी. और मैंने अभी फॉर योर इंफॉर्मेशन पटेल नगर में एक मेट्रो हॉस्पिटल है, मैंने उससे बात करी है. तो मेरे ख्याल से आज उनका सेक्शन शुरू हो जाएगा. उनको मैंने भी बोला कि आप हमारे को फर्स्ट एड के लिए आप बेड्स बना ले, क्योंकि पूरी जो फैसिलिटी है वो अवेलेबिलिटी नहीं है. तो उनका मैं टाइप करा रहा हूँ गंगाराम वालों से कि वो अगर बाई चांस बेड नहीं है तो फर्स्ट एड उनको वहीं मिल जाए कोविड पेशेंट को. तो जब बेड खाली हो तो वहां वो शिफ्ट कर देंगे उसको अगर सीरियस प्रॉब्लम है. तो कई जो क्रिटिकल है उनको तो इमीडिएटली आईसीयू में और वेंटिलेटर चाहिए.
नहीं मिलता जी, मैं आपको बता रही हूँ, नहीं मिलता है. क्रिटिकल केयर नहीं मिल रहा है. आई लॉस्ट अ ब्रदर इन लॉ इन योर ओन वार्ड सर. आई लॉस्ट हिम लास्ट वीक. एक बेड नहीं था.
नहीं मिलता. पर मैं इसीलिए तो हमने उसको अब जितने कोशिश हमारे को 2 या 3 बेड मिल जाते हैं. जब हम 20 बेड की रिक्वायरमेंट देते हैं तो हमारे को उसमें 3 या 4 की अवेलेबिलिटी मिल जाती है. पर वही है, हु इज द राइट पर्सन टू कॉन्टैक्ट, बात यही आ जाती है.
हाँ जी,
बिकॉज मैंने तो अपना हेल्पलाइन चालू कर दिया.
हाँ जी.
द सर वाज सेइंग दैट मिस्टर सिन्हा के बाकी काउंसलर नहीं कर पा रहे या एमएलए नहीं कर पा रहे, तो वहां मैं थोड़ा सा लैक है, मेरे को तो लग रहा है थोड़ा सा. नहीं तो जैसे मेरे एरिया में 2 हैं तो जितनी कोशिश मेरे से हो सकती है मैं उसको करता हूँ. इवन कम से कम नाम तक चला जाए डॉक्टर की नॉलेज में तो वो कंसीडर कर लेता है कि जैसे कोई बेड खाली होगा तो उसको मिल जाता है. पर अब ये भी नहीं हो सकता कि जो बेड पे लेटा हुआ उसको उतार के दूसरे को बैठा दे.
हाँ जी.
प्रॉब्लम यही आ रही है कि हमारे को जो गवर्नमेंट की जो अनाउंसमेंट होती है कि 10,000 बेड लगे हैं, 1,000 बेड हमने लगाए हुए हैं, where is the place and who is treating them and which is the number to contact them, ये वाकई एक बड़ा क्वेश्चन मार्क है हम सबके लिए, क्योंकि एज ए काउंसलर मेरी नॉलेज में भी नहीं है.
हाँ जी.
तो
परमजीत जी, जो ऑनलाइन मेडिकेयर अवेलेबल है, कई हॉस्पिटल्स ऑनलाइन हेल्पलाइंस दे रहे हैं, ऑनलाइन मेडिकल फैसिलिटीज दे रहे हैं, डॉक्टर्स का कंसल्टेशन है, इसका आपके पास कोई ये है, इंफॉर्मेशन है?
नॉलेज नहीं आई है अभी तक. और ऑनलाइन की मैं आपको प्रॉब्लम बताऊं कि लोगों को व्हाट्सएप चलाना आता है, ऑनलाइन के ऊपर जाना ही नहीं आता. तो जो हमारी पॉपुलेशन है, जो हमारे स्लम्स एरिया हैं, जो हमारे झुग्गी वाले एरिया हैं और जो थोड़े से जैसे जेजे कॉलोनी है, उनको अभी ऑनलाइन का इतना सिस्टम समझ नहीं आया कि वो हर चीज ऑनलाइन कर सकते हैं.
तो फिर वो कहाँ जाएंगे? तो वो कहाँ जाएंगे?
उनको बेसिक इंफॉर्मेशन सीधी हमसे चाहिए होती है, वो सीधा हमारा नंबर बुलाते हैं. इसीलिए हमने अपना मोबाइल नंबर ऑन किया है कि वो अगर आपको छोटा सा एग्जांपल देता हूँ कि जैसे RWS में प्रॉब्लम आती है कि आजकल जो लाइट है वो पहले एमसीडी के पास थी, जो रोड स्ट्रीट लाइट थी, अब वो एमएलए के पास चली गई है और उसकी हेल्पलाइन जारी हो गई है लाइट्स कंप्लेंट देने की. तो स्ट्रीट लाइट भी लोग बेचारे परेशान हो गए, उनको समझ नहीं आती कि ऑनलाइन कैसे उसको रिपोर्ट करनी है, कैसे नंबर लगना. तो उसके लिए भी फिर हमारे को हार गया, इसीलिए अपना हेल्पलाइन निकाला है कि अगर किसी को वो लॉग इन नहीं करना आता या कंप्लेंट नहीं देनी आती तो हमको अपना मकान नंबर भेजे और उसकी जो उसके ऊपर नंबर लिखा होता है वो लिख के भेजे, फिर हम उसकी कंप्लेंट करते हैं, फिर उसके नंबर को फॉरवर्ड करते हैं. तो दिस इज अ डीप लॉन्ग प्रोसेस, पर हमको करना पड़ता है क्योंकि उनके पास वो फैसिलिटी नहीं है, वो उतनी नॉलेज ही नहीं है कि वो ऑनलाइन जाके उसकी कंप्लेंट कर सके. तो इसीलिए लोकल जो काउंसलर है वो इजी अवेलेबल है. सबसे पहले अगर कोई किसी को जानता है सबसे नीचे में तो वो काउंसलर है. जिसको इजीली अप्रोच है, जिसका घर सबको पता है, जो लोकल आपको कहीं ना कहीं घूमता हुआ रोड पे सफाई कराता हुआ मिल जाएगा। तो मेरे को ये चाहिए था गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से, हमारे को कोई ऐसी गाइडलाइन भी नहीं आई कि हमारे आपके एरिया में इतने सेंटर खुले हुए हैं, इतने क्लिनिक्स में हमारे टेस्ट हो रहे हैं, और ना ही हमारे से एमएलए, क्योंकि हमारी ये बदकिस्मती को कि जीतने के बाद हम पब्लिक के रिप्रेजेंटेटिव हैं, ना कि हम किसी पार्टी के।
तो एक्चुअली द पॉइंट इज दैट जो
एमएलए के साथ नहीं होती ना, और ना वो हमसे बात करते हैं, ना हम उनको अप्रोच कर पाते हैं। तो ये एक बड़ा मेजर है। तो कभी ऐसा प्लेटफॉर्म जरूर हो कि दोनों साथ बैठे हो। और मैंने तो बड़ी बारी अपने एमएलए को इनविटेशन भेजा है कि लेट्स सिट टुगेदर इन अ वीक एंड सॉल्व द प्रॉब्लम ऑफ पीपल। मैं आपके ऊपर डालता हूँ, आप मेरे ऊपर डालते हैं, तो लेट्स सिट टुगेदर। तो अभी तक तो चलो मेरी किस्मत में नहीं आया वो बैठने सर।
So
But
actually, we would like to say that if this doesn't happen at your level, it should be the citizens, people like Rajiv, who have taken on taken the baton and are running with it. अपने लोग हैं, अपने locality है, हमें खुद safe रखना है, और इसके लिए वो MLA के साथ हैं, काउंसलर के साथ हैं. You need the third tier of government. You need the 76th Amendment implemented across the country, especially in places like Delhi NCR, which are hotspots and which have the maximum number of cases. Thank you so much for joining us. This is a very serious issue. We would like to make sure that all localities remain safe. The fact that we called Paramjit Singh Rana was because he runs a helpline. He runs it on his social media. We would like people, when you are in crisis, go back to your counselor's helplines. The counselor is your first port of call. The counselor can help you because he's connected to the city administration. Thank you so much for joining us, Paramjit Singh ji. Thank you, Rajiv, and I'm Jayashree Kurup and Prabhakar Sen.
Thank you, sir, for coming.